You used to feel more certain about things, who you are, what you believe, and how life works. And somewhere along the way, that certainty started cracking. Now you see both sides of everything. And instead of feeling wise, it just feels exhausting because you can't fully commit to one side. But you can't ignore the other side either. And every time you try to find solid ground, something pulls you in a different direction. That's not confusion, and that's not weakness. That's what happens when your mind starts expanding faster than you know how to handle. And nobody told you what to do with that. So most people think that the problem in the world is the division, that something went wrong, that people became more reactive and more extreme and more disconnected. But look at your own life for a second. There was a time when you didn't question things this much, not because everything was clear, but because you weren't looking at things from multiple angles yet. Think about when you were younger. You were taught what's right and what's wrong, and who you are, and even how life works. And you just followed it. Not because it was perfect, but because it was simple. There weren't hundreds of different perspectives in your face every day. You weren't constantly comparing, analyzing, and questioning everything. You weren't looking and holding different ideas at the same time. So life just felt more certain. Not because it actually was, but because you weren't being exposed to hundreds of different opinions every day, telling you different things, and people living completely different lives different from you across the internet. Constant content, constant questioning your choices, your beliefs, and even who you are. And information that make you second guess what you thought was true. You didn't have to process all of that at the same time. And now you do. And you're trying to make sense of it all while still living your life. And that changes everything. Because when you're exposed to so many different perspectives, you start to see contradictions. You start to notice that two complete opposite things can both make sense in different ways. And most people don't know how to handle that. So what do people do? They pick a side. Sometimes because they truly believe it. And sometimes because it aligns with their values. But a lot of the time, they attach to it in a way that it shuts down everything else. And that's where the problem starts. Because the moment that you can only see one side, you stop seeing the full picture. You stop seeing the human being on the other end of that belief. And now it's no longer about understanding. It's about defending. And once you're in that state, you're not really thinking anymore. You're reacting. And when that happens, decisions get made in a very narrow way without fully seeing the impact that they have on real people's lives. And this doesn't just happen in the world. It happens in your personal life too. You say, I want to grow, but another part of you wants to stay safe. You say, I'm ready for change, but you keep going back to what's familiar. You say, I want something different, but your actions don't fully match it yet. And instead of seeing both sides, you try to force one to win. And you ignore the other one completely. And now you're split. So the chaos you're seeing in the world is the same split happening inside people. It's not just external, it's psychological. And here's the part that no one tells you. The problem isn't that things are divided. The problem is that most people don't know how to handle that. They don't know how to handle seeing both sides at the same time, because that requires something that most people avoid. It requires discomfort, sitting with uncertainty, not rushing to conclusion, not needing to be right immediately, and not collapsing into just one side to feel better. And that's why everything feels so intense right now, because you're being exposed to more than you ever had to process before. And instead of expanding to hold it, most people contract, they narrow down, they defend, they choose, and they stay there. So if everything feels extreme right now, it doesn't mean the world is falling apart. It means you're being exposed to both sides at the same time. And most people don't know what to do with that. So they live in one side or the other, back and forth all the time. But there is another way to live this. There is a place that most people don't even realize it exists. It's right in the middle of it, where both sides meet without canceling each other out. There is actually an old symbol for this, which is a circle with a cross inside it. And even this symbol behind me, the flower of life, it's also built on the same idea, where everything is connected. Everything is coming from one center. But most people don't live from that center. They live around the edges, reacting, defending, and choosing. And the real shift happens in the center. And that's what I'm going to break down in the next video. Because if you don't understand what's happening inside you, you keep trying to fix it out there. Subscribe if you're ready for real change, and I'll see you in the next video.